new TLDs, new top-level domains. And our moderator tonight will be Thomas Rickert. Thomas Rickert, Director, Names and Numbers Forum of ECHO, the German Internet Association. And please welcome with me Thomas Rickert at World Hosting Day 2015.
Thank you very much indeed. We have a great panel today, and we're planning not to lose a lot of time with introductions. Nonetheless, I think you should be in a position to associate the individuals with companies, because we don't have the right order here. So I would suggest we just do a quick round of introductions. Can we start with you, Jeff?
Sure. I'm Jeff Sass, the CMO of .club Domains. We're the registry for the .club new domain extension. Cheers.
I'm Alexander Schwertner, Director of Product at OpenSRS. We are a domain name registrar, and we are in the business of selling new TLDs to hosting companies and other resellers.
I'm Helena Schindler, working for InterNetX, Germany-based registrar, managing more than 3.9 million domain names at the moment, and we also offer the new extensions.
Hi everyone, I'm Neha. I'm with Radix. We are also a new GTLD registry. Some of the extensions that we have are .site, .website, .online, and then some vertical focused extensions like .tech, .host, and .press.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm with EuroDNS, everybody's second favorite domain registrar. And our mission is to offer all the extensions out there in the world via one platform and API.
Hi, I'm Oliver from Smart-NIC, the CEO. We are a Munich-based reseller and domain registrar, and we are focusing especially on domain reselling.
So that was quick, encouragingly quick. So we're going to discuss new GTLDs today, new generic top-level domain names. And a couple of days back, ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, which is the organization that makes these new extensions possible, has published its budget for next year. And actually, they have quite dramatically reduced their income from renewals of new generic top-level domain names. So ICANN is expecting the new GTLDs not to take off as they had originally planned. Likewise, at the moment we have a couple of million domain name registrations, like 4.7, if I'm not mistaken. And that is not very much in line with the expectations that some of the operators of these new extensions had. So let me open this discussion by asking Neha, the number of registrations that we've seen so far is not particularly overwhelming. Why?
So I think there's multiple challenges to it. One in terms of, let's talk about a lot of people here who are web service providers not being ready yet in terms of offering those extensions, right? A lot of hosting companies, a lot of web service providers in general are not integrated, they're not selling new TLDs, maybe they don't buy into the idea yet. So I think there's a gap in terms of right from this, the services being provided and the demand, both of them sort of connecting there. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is, I think, some of the extensions, there's lack of user awareness in terms of the fact that people don't know they exist, and that probably is the biggest issue that we have right now. So as registries, as an industry, I think we have a lot of work to do to build that awareness and create demand, generate that demand.
In terms of raising awareness, I think that's a key point. Just to give you a little bit of history to our little group, we had a preparatory phone call the other day, and somebody who was obviously supposed to join another panel during World Hosting Days joined our call, and I was, giving some background and, tried to propose to the group how we could structure this discussion, and then this lady chimed in and said, "Well, what are these jelly DDs?" And I think that was quite an eye-opener for us, that even those in the internet industry that are not particularly in the domain industry wouldn't even know what new GTLDs are. Now, you're closer to the customer even. Do you think that there's actually a lack of awareness, or how are your plans to offer new GTLDs come up to or are you in line with your expectations, to put it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still an awareness topic, so we're still realizing that even many web hosting companies say like, okay, new TLDs, what is it about? And you have to give a lot of detailed information about what it is, what they could use it for. So yes, it is still a topic, and we're really working hard on getting more information into the market, and really hope they will also give that information to their customers. So we also need the support of the whole industry.
So raising awareness for new GTLDs, I think, is key to its success. How can a customer or a potential customer buy things that they don't know about?
But Thomas, I want to just, pardon me for interrupting, but part of the problem is we shouldn't even be calling them new GTLDs. It doesn't mean anything to the consumer or the end user. Perhaps in this room, in this crowd, because you're in the domain industry, you're in hosting, you may understand what a GTLD is, but let's stop talking about that. We're talking about domain names. These are new opportunities for domain names. They're new domain name extensions. That's how most of the registrars refer to them who are selling them to consumers. And I think this whole GTLD discussion is confusing and unnecessary. It's domain names, and now there are more choices to be able to find the perfect domain name for you because there are different extensions available. And let's get rid of the TLD.
Okay, so €5 for everyone who says top-level domain, right? So we have a deal on that one. But I think, Jeff, you're touching upon a very important point. I think people don't understand all the acronyms. They don't understand what registries versus registrars are. Now, you're representing a registry which is particularly successful as a new GTLD, representing .club. What have you done that others obviously have missed out on?
Well, I think 2 things, 3 things. 4 things, no, just kidding. Maybe 8 things, but realistically, we're very fortunate. Colin Campbell, the founder of the company, had the vision to pick out the word club as a word that actually means something on a global basis. So the truth is, we're successful so far because club is a good name. It's a good word. People understand it, people get it, and it resonates throughout the world. I think the second thing is all we have is club. So we're not a portfolio company. We're a little startup ourselves. We're 13, 14 people. We raised a bunch of money just to go after .club. And having that singular focus has allowed us to work really hard on just building club into a global brand. When we wake up in the morning, I don't have to worry about which kid am I going to pay attention to today. I know it's going to be a .club day every day. So I think that focus has helped us a great deal as well.
Is choice an issue? I mean, we have more than 500 of these new extensions in the root today. There are many more to come. Alex, how is a registrar coping with the challenge of prioritizing or giving each of them the attention that they need?
Well, I wouldn't want to focus so much on the challenge on the technical level, which by no doubt is there to integrate with all those back-end registries. What we were surprised to see, because internally in our team we were guessing which of the new TLDs would actually be successful, and everyone had their favorites. Now, after a year, what we realize is that it's really the portfolio of TLDs that we offer. They all get some extensions. And it's really about the choice in the market and letting people decide what actually they want and what kind of names are relevant for them. So I think the numbers that we see in our portfolio, and that is pretty much what we see across all TLDs, is that except for a few, everyone's numbers are not great, but we get a lot of registrations across the board. So I think providing that choice to your customers and not just specifically offering 1 or 2 and coming up with what they would want, but instead just leaving them the choice of what they would need and find relevant for their business. I think that's really important, and that's one of the lessons we learned this year.
So offering all these extensions to the customer is key. Daniel, I'd like to hear from you whether you give your customer any sort of assistance in picking the right name. I think in this day and age, we can't say, okay, you can have this, that, and that. Otherwise, you would have a scrolling list of hundreds and hundreds of domain names. How do you prioritize? Do you pre-select for your customers?
No, we let our customers do the job, but the experience we made so far is that the TLDs that sell best for
You said
EuroDNS.
TLD.
Oh, so sorry. The new domain extensions that work best for EuroDNS are all the ones that don't need any explanation. They are very, they send out a very clear message like .photography, .consulting, .experts, .solutions, .systems. All those ones that company already actively use in their company name or in their product. And we sell a lot of those, and we don't need to explain those extensions. So yeah, I mean, we work with some customers who ask us if they need more assistance. You know, what extension should I get? Because there are some smaller companies who just start up and say, okay, what do you recommend us? I mean, you work with so many companies. What extensions do other companies that are like us go for? And then we sit down with them and say, you know, this one makes sense for you and this one makes sense for you. So for some customers we offer assistance, but I think I prefer the ones that are very, very explanatory, where you don't have to tell the customer what this TLD is. Sorry, extension is about.
Can I chime in with one more comment?
Sure.
I think what becomes key in the future around offering those extensions is search. The way we've sold domains in the past, where we had a drop-down list of 6 extensions, and this is where you could choose from, that no longer works. Definitely not with 300 and more TLDs. Another 5 for me. So, and I think
get all that money, right?
and I think we haven't seen the full potential of what could be done in search on the market. And I think this is where people have a lot more room to innovate and improve the sales process around those extensions and domains to really leverage the choice we have in the market. Because not everyone who has a small shop would be a potential candidate for a .solutions domain if their business is something entirely different. They might, depending on what they do, may have a small subset. And the challenge is to just produce or present that subset of extensions to that customer. So we need to know a lot more about the customers at the time when they're searching, so we can give them meaningful suggestions as to which extensions they should specifically buy. And I think that we can see a lot of improvement there as well.
If I may just add one comment, I absolutely agree, but we also have to pass that information to our customers. We need to have a closer look at the customers, but they need to do so too. They need to select the customers. For example, when it comes to the geographic TLDs, they need to select and just present the information relevant also for the end customer. Then it will work.
Yeah, so what I've learned so far is that there seems to be common sense that we need more awareness for new extensions, that the registrars sort of need to up their game to help the customer make a choice. What else can they do, Oliver?
I think the classical system, how registries marketed their domains. Am I allowed to say the domain still? Yeah. Okay. So it should change, because the registries were mainly focused on the registrars, and I think there was also like a demand from all the registrars. Please give all the information to me, and I'm going to distribute it, which is easy if you have like 10, 15 strings, but with 1,000 or more, it's not even possible. So the strategy should, especially from the registries, needs to change. I remember at the ICANN meeting in, as you're here for Radix, in Los Angeles, they had like a 100 square foot billboard outside the hotel saying .website, which I knew already that there's going to be, because I'm in the industry. Why didn't you put it up on the rodeo drive?
Right.
So that needs to change, I think.
Right.
Basically, we need to get the information out to the customer, to the end user who needs the information that is actually out there. And if people start to use it, it's going to spread more and more, because there are, I think there are signs like if another Radix TLD.host is helping you as a hosting company with SEO. You get better results if you're using a .host string already. Even if it's just connected, it doesn't mean it doesn't need to be up for like a year or something, or have a lot of content. So this information needs to be out at the customer, not not for me as a registrar, because I know that. And then if people start talking about it, especially at that conference, you know, I have a .host domain now, and I get like 20% more traffic. Since I have that, this is going to help spread the word.
Agreed.
Okay?
Yep.
Something like that.
Can I make one comment? I've been in a couple of conversations with registries, new domain extension registries, and they ask, so how are you going to promote this domain extension? And the answer is very clear, well, that is not our job, you know. I mean, I agree with Alex that we need to help the customers find the right domain extension, but it is the registry who need to create the demand. The registry are the ones who need to give out the message to the end users. I always use the comparison with Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola in this sense is the registry. They have a product and they want people to buy it. And the registrar is the supermarket. The supermarket, I don't care, I will sell a domain name. If a customer comes, or I will sell a bottle of, I don't know, of lemonade, a bottle of Pepsi, a bottle of Coca-Cola. I don't really care what they're going to buy. They definitely buy a bottle. But Coca-Cola wants them to buy their bottle, so it's Coca-Cola who needs to create a demand for that. So as supermarket, I don't care. I will sell a domain name. I will sell a bottle of whatever it is.
Well, that's an interesting statement. ECO has conducted a couple of studies over the last couple of years, which we called the Registrar Atlas. And there was one interesting, or multiple interesting things we found out, one of which was that 4 out of 5 registrars would not bother to use promotional material they got prefabricated from the registries, right? So I think you're confirming this notion that the registries need to do a lot by themselves, and ideally going outside of the domain industry and approaching target groups themselves. So you spoke about the generic TLDs that you have, but also those niche or special interest type TLDs.
Yep.
What are you doing to advance them?
So just to address some of the points that were raised here, right? Marketing for registries now is not one-dimensional anymore. The event at LA, for instance, is to make sure that all the registrars, the domainers, everyone there knows, because they're all our audiences, right? .host here is because this is the largest hosting fair in the world. Everyone, or a lot of people in the audience here are potential customers. So for .host, this is a very target-focused, almost as good as marketing to end users. But for stuff like .tech, which is another extension we have, we were at South by Southwest, which is a complete end customer event. We did something for .space there. So yes, the onus does lie on us as a registry to go out there and make sure that we are spreading the word. And I'm very sure that, you know, including .club, I know they attend a lot of these focused events. I've heard from the right side guys that they're going to dental focused events for .dentist. So there is an effort that the registries are making. It needs to be upped, no doubt. But it needs to be approached, you know, across the industry. We do one thing, we work with you guys as registrars to take that further, and we work with influencers in the industry to make sure that, you know, at all levels, registry, registrar, and influencers and end customers are sort of engaged.
Yeah,
but that's interesting. Jeff, I wanted to turn to you because I think you have shown how you can work with famous people to transport the message to the outside world. And I'm thinking of the campaign you did with 50 Cent.
Yeah, so I think, well, first of all, also it has to be a partnership, you know, with the registry and the registrar. Because as much as it's up to the registry to develop the brand and to drive demand, as Neha so well said, at the same time as the registry, we can't conclude a transaction, right? We need the registrar to close the deal, right? So we need to work in concert with the registrar. And the registrars should be supporting the registries that are building a brand, that are spending money outside to drive that awareness, and give them the shelf space they need and sell those names, because that's how the registrars will make money. And that's how hosting companies will make money on add-ons and email packages and everything else. Because when someone finds that perfect domain name, they're going to want all those services. So we're doing a lot. As you mentioned, Thomas, when we launched back in May, we decided to launch with a high-profile end user of .club, and we made a deal with the rapper 50 Cent. Why? Because when you think of 50 Cent, most people all over the world think of the song. Thank you. So you think of the word club, and he's also an entrepreneur, et cetera, et cetera. So we had him at our launch party. We launched a site with him, 50inda.club. But the other thing we did, which many of our registrar partners took advantage of as part of the deal we made with him, we obtain the rights to use his likeness and his image, and for our registrars to use his likeness and image to help promote .club. So we provided assets and banners and things that the registrars could use that said, you know, I'm in the club, you can be too, with 50 cents picture, etc. So we were able to give the registrars something unusual that normally, you know, normally if they would have to pay a celebrity like 50 Cent to put them on their website, it would be a costly thing. So we tried to do things like that to support both the public awareness, because he's a public figure and we got a lot of media and attention, but also to support the sales channel, because we want to drive domain name registrations as well. You know, and we continue to try to, because it works so well with club, it's a natural name for a fan club. So after we did the deal with 50 Cent, which was a deal we made directly with him, Demi Lovato, on her own, we had nothing to do with it, she launched Lovato.club as her fan club. And what's great about these types of sites is, by nature of them being fan clubs, they have large followings, large audiences, they talk about it on social media, so it drives a lot of awareness for .club.
Well, that's an excellent example of how you can, you know, spread the word outside the industry, which I think is almost a challenge for every registry and registrar. You know, at these events, often we see people from the internet industry, it's the usual suspects that meet at conferences all around the world. And with that, I'd like to, you know, since we only have a few more minutes left, the title of this panel is From 3.5 million to 20 million, which I think begs the question of whether we do these new extensions justice by just measuring their success in registration numbers. So I would like to open up a last round of comments from your side, and I would like to pick from the questions of, you know, what creates value? You know, I think it's not the sheer number. So how do we transport or convey to the customer that these extensions actually do have a specific value for them, so that they not only register but also renew them after the first year? And the second aspect, since we have a couple of folks outside the core domain industry, is wouldn't it be, or what would make it attractive for them to also offer domain names, or maybe even more extensions than they offer now, and how difficult or easy would that be? So I think we could start with Oliver, if you'd like to.
Just one more thing, because we always...
Are you Steve Jobs?
He's dead. Sorry. What just came to my mind, that because that's the thing, we are actually just talking about the commercial aspect of the domain. Can we make money out of it? And I think what we always forget if we talk about the new domain names is that the program that ICANN has started gave room to a lot of people from other countries, especially if you look at the IDN strings now. These people were sort of excluded because the program, or the TLDs, were focused on the Western European American market, basically. So I would say we should first figure that the new TLD program was a good thing, basically, but it was just from a few, from the, let's call them gold diggers, it was maybe the wrong approach. Because everybody was thinking, okay, I have a cool name, I'm going to make money out of it. And so, I don't know, if we're talking about figures, I don't think we're going to see 20 million next year, or within 2 or 3 years, but I think the good one's going to survive anyway.
Thanks, Oliver. Daniel.
I don't think that we see several million more domain names in the next couple of years. Just because we have 600 more domain extensions doesn't mean that there are 600 times more entrepreneurs out there who suddenly want to start a business. It's the same amount of people who want to start a business, but they just select now from a bigger variety of domain extensions. And I think a lot of people ignore that. I mean, we see now that a couple of customers who had already a website since a couple of years just added an extension. If they were a technology company or consulting company, they added .consulting, .technology, but most of them picked 1 or 2 maximal additional extensions and not 50, 60, 100 more extensions, because it doesn't make sense for them. They use something that they can identify their brand or their company name with.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that in terms of pure numbers, right, I'm not sure about the 20 million number, but there are some really good extensions still to come. There are some, extensions that the industry can look forward to. We've got great ones already, but there are some that have the potential to actually grow the numbers phenomenally. So that will come, and I think in some time from now, the industry will, I think, providers are sort of really engrossed in launching and getting stuff out, but there will be TLDs that bubble up to the top when, wholesale companies like hosting providers, registrars, all of them figure out what TLDs work for them and what don't. So we'll get to that stable point in some time, and when that happens, that's when we'll see, the ones that everyone focuses on, and those grow. And just to the other question you had in terms of what would make that happen in terms of actual growth, I think actual adoption. So figuring out not just buying names and numbers, like you said, is not necessarily the judgment of whether a TLD is successful or not. Whatever their focus is, their business model, the actual adoption from that target base is key.
Thanks, Neha. Helena.
Okay, so I think everyone agrees that some extensions will work quite well, and there are some really interesting showing up, but of course there are also going to be some extension, well, maybe they would just fail in getting it to their target market. And so I think in total, of course, the number of domain names on the new extensions will grow within the next year. I think this program still needs some time, but I kind of not agree with Daniel when saying like, yeah, it's not more businesses. Sorry for that, Daniel. But actually, I think as those extensions try to focus on different target markets, and it's still getting the awareness to them, and then, yeah, I do believe that those figures really will grow.
Alex.
I think when you take a look at the whole program and all the strings, the extensions that have been applied for, I think there is absolutely the potential for 20 million names in the next years. But that does not say that a string or an extension that will get to 30,000 or 50,000 names is not a success. And I would like to talk about .cat for a minute. .cat launched like a couple of years ago, and it's the extensions for Catalonia in Spain. And it's actually a great success story. They have, I think by now it's between 50 or 80,000 names after a couple of years. But I think they are a great success story in that this extension is used heavily in their local community. If you travel to Barcelona, you see a lot of .cat names publicly. People are putting content on their websites in Catalan language. And to me, this is a really successful TLD. I think they never had the expectations that they would get to 1 million, and that's totally fair. And we have a lot of candidates from this application round that would fit the same category. If they manage to be successful in their specific community for their specific purpose and get to a couple of thousand registrations and have otherwise a lean cost structure, they can be a total success. And they don't have to get to that 1 million. So success is not only the total number of registration, there's more behind it.
Jeff.
Well, I have the advantage of going last and hearing what everyone else says. I have lots of comments, therefore. But Daniel, I have to disagree also in that it's not just about the people who have businesses now getting additional domain names. One of the biggest opportunities for all of us, for everyone in the room really, is new people coming to the internet, entrepreneurs starting new businesses, new ideas, the emerging markets like India and China where internet usage has tremendous opportunities for growth. All of those people who are buying domain names for the very first time now have tremendous choice and opportunity to get the right name. And if they get the right name, they're far more likely to use it and to buy hosting and buy email and do all the other things. So I think there's tremendous potential with new people coming to the internet. So it's not just about converting people who already have a domain name to add another domain name with a new extension or change their domain name. That's hard. What's easy is giving new people choice, and I think that's one of the things we do. The other thing that we didn't talk about, which is significant in terms of the overall numbers, is the brands. The brands have not really gotten in the game yet. When ICANN launched the program, 664 of the applications were from brands. Very few of those brands have started to actually do anything, either with their domain extension, like a .bmw or a .Nike, or using other extensions. But it's starting to happen. One thing that happened last week, which is exciting, is a brand in the UK called Butterfly Twists. It's a shoe brand. they registered 100 different extensions with butterfly twist dot whatever, butterfly twist dot sexy, butterfly twist dot dance, butterfly twist dot club, 100 of them. And then they put a landing page for each of them. And they did a whole marketing campaign around the idea that we have a shoe for every mood you're in, and these domain names represent those different moods. So you want to be sexy, you have a different shoe for that. You want to go dancing, you want to go to a club, etc. And they used all these new domain extensions in a very clever way for a marketing campaign. And that's going to start happening a lot. And that's like the missing link that's going to drive tremendous awareness, which in turn will drive registrations. You know? And that happened with .com. It's no different. I'm old enough to remember when many companies didn't feel they needed to have a website. You know, that was kind of a geeky thing that, you know, it was a geeky luxury to have a website. It wasn't until marketers and brands started putting that web address with .com at the end in their advertisements that everyone woke up and said, oh, I guess I need one of these website thingies, and I guess I need a domain name, and I guess it should have .com in it, because that's what everyone else seems to be using. So that hasn't happened yet for the new extensions, but it will. It's starting to happen. Butterfly Twist is a good example, and we'll see more of that. And that's going to really change the landscape a lot, I think, and hopefully a lot of that will happen in the coming year.
Thanks, Jeff. Time flies. We've asked the host whether we could have a little extra time, but he said that we have a hard stop because of the preparations for the party tonight, and certainly we don't want to stand in the way of you going to party. Let me try to briefly recap some of the key things that I heard. You know, certainly the mere registration figures are below expectations. But there are a couple of factors. We need to raise awareness, not only inside the industry, but also outside the industry, that these new extensions exist. And as registrars, we need to make it easier for customers to understand which of these names add value to their needs, to their business, to their to the region where they are. You know about all the regional TLDs that we saw and will see launching. Also, I think we suffer from the fact that there are a lot of names, some of which are attractive, others are less attractive, but a lot of the really attractive names are yet to come. So from a marketing perspective, how do you promote with media, with press attention, a launch which is taking more than 2 years' time? So it's very difficult to get a broader audience's attention. And maybe some of the brands will help do that trick. Maybe some of the portfolio applicants, such as Google, who have a lot of customers, will help raise awareness in that area when their customers get the attention to the new domain names. So I think that we can all agree that there is room for improvement, not only in terms of registration numbers, but also to help users enter the internet as businesses to get their share of the new virtual property and locations that we offer to them over the next couple of years. Frank Schilling said that the number of domain names that are registered today are equivalent to 1% of the world population. And I think if you are from a business perspective, if you know that you've just taken advantage of 1% of your potential customer base, I think that clearly indicates that there's a lot more business to be made and a lot more fun to have. I had a lot of fun talking to these excellent panelists. I think we could have gone on for hours and hours because this topic is multifaceted, so we could really scratch the surface a little bit. Keep yourself updated on these things. It's very interesting, and it's going to keep us busy for the next years, if not decades to come. Thank you very much.